Hi, everybody. How are you? Nice to see you. Okay, this is to reiterate what we were doing a little while ago. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to process this image for you. And you can follow the step-by-step instructions. I know that Richard has already processed a lot of his work, but I'm going to show you here how to process an image. And then I'm going to, in another video, I'm going to show you how to make a mask. No, I'm sorry, actually, I can show you how to do it in this one, and I'll show you another video in how to make yet another mask. Okay, so now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to straighten the image out. You can see it's a little bit crooked here and there. I'll show you. So from here, from where the eyedropper tool is, there's the ruler tool. You put it from, you know that a building more or less is going to be straight, right? If it's not the Leaning Tower of Pisa, it's going to be straight. So there we go. We have this, okay, image rotation, arbitrary, okay, it's going to rotate it, and so there it is. You can see that there are edges all the way around from how much the image was rotated, so you crop those out. Okay, so there the image is ready to go. So now the next thing on the list is to make the proper size image. I already had made this at 300 because it was going to be printed. Keep it like it is so it's uncompressed, and you can make the width to fit 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. That's 9, and you can see from here it's 5. It's a very long and wide, a very wide and narrow image. So here it is. That's your image. So we're going to make this a little bit bigger. No, we don't want to do that, but we can just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so here's the image that we have. Now, in looking at it, you can see that back here it's very, very dark, and over here it's very light. So what are we going to do with it? The first thing that I would like to do with it is only to lighten this part while leaving this alone. So, so we're going to select color range, and you can hit this, and it will only bring up the colors from the dropper. If I would have gone over here where it's light blue, you see it would have picked every color that is roughly in that color range. Whereas here, my computer's running slow, I'm making a mask. So when I decide to lighten and darken, it's only going to affect these areas and not the others. So we hit OK. And you can see that's how the selection was created. I hit Q so that I can see what's going on there. If I want to refine that selection. So everything that's white is what's going to be worked on. So in levels, I can make areas knock out that I don't want to be touched. So I don't have to spend hours and hours and hours retouching it and bringing it back. You see, so now the only thing that's going to be affected are these areas over here. So I hit OK. Again, I hit tilde so it turns red, and then Q. So here's the entire selection of what's going to be worked on. So the important thing to do now is to save the selection. Okay, so you can write something simple like dark areas. You see, this way you can see this is where your selection is going to be stored. Okay, going back to layers. Now, in order, like I had told you previously, if you're going to go lighter or darker or change the contrast, don't do it in RGB. Do it in LAB, also known as lab. See, so here in mode, you go down to lab color. Okay, it converts the image to a lightness A and B area. So now you can apply your curves And in your lightness and darkness area, you can affect how much lighter or darker it's going to be. There's a huge difference. Look at that. From here to here, from here. Okay, so you've made this area much lighter and darker. Now, the way that you can really gauge how much lighter and darker to make something is you look at the histogram over here. It'll show you where the maximum amount of data is. Take this away. This is no good. Go away. No, I don't want that. Go away. It's hard with a mouse. It's much easier, but you can take this curve and leave it alone where it is, and only the areas that are really, really dark need to be affected. Okay, so here's before and after. Okay, you can bring it down a little bit so you have still some detail. So there you can see what your curve is going to look like. Okay, so that is your curve. Before, let's push this back so you can see it. Before and after. See? So you can start to see some of the detail that's there. Okay, so then we have to flatten the image so we can bring it back in, pardon me. We have to flatten the image so we can bring it back to RGB. It's flattened. Okay, now RGB color. And as we discussed before, this whole area is just a little bit too yellow for my taste. I'd like to bring some of this color here so that it contrasts. So, you know, in order just to work on this without working on the rest, because if I make this bluer, this is going to get very blue. And I would like that to stay like it is because I'm rather happy with that. So then we go back to the channels, command and hit that selection. It's going to come up again. Okay, it's going to come up. So now we can go back to the layer, bring up a curve, okay? And we want to decrease the yellow. So that means that over here, let me just bring this part over here so you can see what we're doing. What we're going to do here is we're going to increase the blue only in this area. Now watch what happens. Because I drew a mask, you can see only that area is going to be affected. The sky and everything is still the same because of that mask. So looking at the histogram, you find out where the areas where all the blue is, and that's where you accentuate it. You put this and you go higher and higher, and you say, I really don't notice a difference, but look at when you turn the layer off to on, you can see this turns a little bit cooler, a little bit, you know, a little bit less blue. I mean, I'm sorry, a little bit more blue, less yellow, see? That's too much now. But this way, the inside looks a little bit colder and a little bit cooler. So there you have the image. If you're a numbers person and you want to see exactly how the numbers work, you can pull this down and you can see this is almost 3949. It's almost a 14-point gap between what was there before and what's there after. You know, you can bring this back down over here, but at this point, it's considerably higher. You know, so you're going to really neutralize a lot of that yellow that was there before. Okay, so that's your curve. Now, then we can flatten the image again because, you know, we're about to finish it off. Flatten the image. We're going to make a background copy so that we can use the high pass. Okay, so anywhere between 8.5 and 10 will give you a nice result. Then why does it go to this much? It's a very complicated thing. Keep your images mostly between 8.5 and 10 and you'll get very good results. Let me move this out of the way. So here we go, okay. And here in normal, you can go to hard light, soft light, or overlay. Either one of these are fine, but the soft light is the one that gives you the best results without it being too jarring. Because remember what I had said, that high pass, the computer scans the image Okay, and the filter, what it does, it increases the value between the higher and the lower. And it takes a higher pass, the higher value, more light, the lighter color. Okay, and it leaves the other one behind. So it takes the high pass between two colors that meet. That's what it basically does. So you can use the soft light. And again, you might not see much of a difference, but there's a huge difference. See, the lighter parts are brighter here without and with, without and with. Okay, so the image has taken the higher pass between lighter and darker. Okay, and if you find that that's too jarring, and sometimes high pass can go a little bit too far, there's nothing wrong with lowering the opacity of a layer, especially if you're doing things that have a lot of pattern. Let's say someone has a patterned shirt or something like that. The difference between the patterns in the shirt or the fabric might be too great, even though you can get away with lowering things that the contrast is not so obvious. But especially when it comes to, you know, like something like my Jimi Hendrix, I might have to lower that layer so that the type doesn't come screaming off, you know, the shirt. Okay, so here I am at 63. You know, I can bring it up a little bit, and but you're still going to see a noticeable difference between the lighter part and the darker part of the image. So then we're going to flatten it again. Okay, let's make this a little bit smaller so you can see it. And, you know, for purposes of the midterm, I want you to have a nice white border around everything that you do. So at this stage, we hit canvas. You bring it into a unit that you like working with, if you like working in metric or whatever. And so the unit that I want is 11 and 8.5. We're going to pretend that I'm going to print this on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Here, you can, this is the extension. I chose white because, but you can choose any color that you want, but I strongly suggest that you keep it white. So this way you can see, you know, your image will come forward beautifully. And there it is. Your image is ready to go. Okay, and then you can save it. You know, this particular one, because I already made it at 300 dpi, I can save as, and I can save it on my computer, and I can save it as a, come on, documents. I'm going to save this on my desktop for now, just for now. And it's going to be Photoshop. No, I'd like to save it as a TIFF. Okay, and we're going to save it. It's going to tell me no compression, and that's what I want. Interleaves, so it's, you know, we have art, you know, like the three channels are interleaved. IBM, yes, so it can open up on any computer, and hit OK, and you're set. That is the image. All right, very good. I hope that this helps, and have a nice day.